My sisters and brothers, everyone talks about wanting a beautiful marriage, but very few ask themselves the real question, am I truly ready for it? Marriage is not just about a wedding day, flowers and celebrations. It is about responsibility, patience, sacrifice, and mercy. It will expose who you really are. It will test your character in ways you never imagined, and it will demand more from you than you ever thought you could give. Before you dream of finding the right person, ask yourself honestly, have you become the right person? Because marriage is not about perfection. It is about building a home of love and mercy with sincerity, humility, and faith. If you think about it carefully, the journey of marriage is not only about companionship, but about growth. Growth in patience, growth in kindness, growth in understanding. The person you marry will not remain the same forever, just as you yourself will not remain the same forever. Life changes us, experiences mold us, and time refines us. The key question is, are you ready to grow alongside someone? Are you ready to embrace their strengths and their weaknesses, to encourage their potential, and to accept their flaws without constantly reminding them of their imperfections? Many times people enter marriage with a mindset of control. They want to shape their spouse into an image of perfection that exists only in their own minds. But real love is not about changing the other person to suit your own desires. It is about helping each other become the best versions of yourselves. That means guiding with gentleness, advising with compassion, and correcting with wisdom. If you go into marriage thinking you can dominate or control, you are not ready. A true marriage is not built on power, but on partnership. Ask yourself, how do I handle differences? Not just differences in opinion, but differences in personality, in habits, in background, even in culture. Sometimes you may not understand why your spouse does things a certain way, but if you are humble enough to learn, patient enough to ask, and wise enough to respect, you will discover beauty in diversity. Too often people assume that love alone is enough to sustain a marriage. But without tolerance, love will wither. Without respect, love will crumble. Without mercy, love will fade. Another important question is, how do you handle silence? In every marriage, there will be moments of silence where words don't flow easily, where emotions are bottled up, where communication feels heavy. If you panic in silence, if you misinterpret it as rejection or as a lack of love, you will create unnecessary conflict. But if you learn to give space to allow your spouse to process in their own time and then approach with gentleness, you will build trust. Sometimes silence is not a lack of love, but simply a need for peace. Readiness for marriage means understanding that not every moment will be filled with constant conversation or attention, but every moment can still be filled with respect. Financial responsibility also plays a major role in readiness for marriage. It doesn't mean you need to be wealthy, but you do need to be wise. Are you ready to manage your income with honesty, to live within your means, to prioritize needs over wants? Financial problems destroy many marriages, not because of poverty itself, but because of poor attitudes toward money. If you are careless with spending, if you chase luxury to impress others, if you place more importance on material things than on peace, then you will struggle. A home filled with simplicity and contentment is far richer than a mansion filled with debt and stress. Your readiness for marriage is also tested by the way you handle secrets and trust. When two people come together, they share parts of themselves they do not share with the world. Their fears, their insecurities, their past mistakes. Are you ready to protect those secrets like a treasure, never to be used against them, never to be revealed to others? Trust is fragile, and once broken, it is very difficult to rebuild. If you gossip about your spouse, if you expose their flaws, you will destroy the very foundation of trust that keeps a marriage strong. But if you honor their dignity, if you protect their reputation, you will build a bond that is unshakable. Readiness for marriage also means preparing yourself to deal with external influences. Families, friends, and society often interfere in a marriage, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. Are you ready to prioritize your spouse while still respecting your family? Are you ready to balance the two without allowing one to destroy the other? Too often, marriages are broken because couples allow outsiders to dictate their relationship. A mature person knows how to listen respectfully to advice, but also how to set boundaries that protect the peace of the marriage. Consider also your ability to express gratitude. In marriage, it is easy to take each other for granted, to stop noticing the small efforts, to assume that the other person's service is their duty. But a simple word of appreciation, a sincere thank you, can strengthen bonds more than expensive gifts. Are you ready to make gratitude part of your daily life? To notice even the smallest gesture, to thank your spouse for the little things. Gratitude creates happiness, and happiness creates love. Without gratitude, even the greatest efforts feel ignored. Patience is perhaps the most important quality in marriage. You may think you are patient now, but marriage will test you in new ways. Patience when your spouse is ill, patience when they are tired, patience when they make a mistake, patience when they forget something important. If you lose your temper over small inconveniences, how will you handle the bigger trials? Real patience is not shown when life is easy, but when life is difficult. Readiness for marriage means strengthening your patience before stepping into this responsibility. Another important aspect is emotional intelligence. Are you able to sense when your spouse is upset, even when they don't say it? Are you able to comfort without judgment, to listen without interrupting, to reassure without dismissing their feelings? Too often, people think providing financially is enough, but emotional support is equally vital. A person may survive without luxury, but they cannot thrive without love. If you want your marriage to flourish, you must learn how to connect with the heart, not just provide for the body. Jealousy and insecurity also need to be addressed. Are you ready to trust your spouse, to give them space without constantly suspecting them? Excessive jealousy suffocates love. Insecurity breeds accusations, and accusations destroy trust. True readiness for marriage means knowing your own worth, being confident enough in yourself that you do not need to constantly seek reassurance in destructive ways. A healthy marriage is built on trust, not suspicion. Forgiveness, again, is at the core of it all. If you cannot forgive, you cannot love. Every marriage will involve mistakes. Harsh words will be spoken, promises will be broken, expectations will not be met. If every mistake becomes a permanent scar, your marriage will collapse under the weight of resentment. But if forgiveness becomes your instinct, if you can move on without holding grudges, your marriage will only become stronger after each storm. Marriage is also a journey of selflessness. You will have to wake up sometimes in the middle of the night to care for your spouse. You will have to put aside your own comfort to meet their needs. You will have to sacrifice time, money, and energy for the sake of peace. If you are not ready to put someone else before yourself, you are not ready for marriage. But if you see marriage as a chance to serve, to give, and to love without expecting in return, you will find fulfillment. Think about the way you communicate. Are you ready to listen without interrupting, to discuss without shouting, to disagree without disrespect? Communication is not only about speaking, but about listening. Many marriages fail not because of a lack of love, but because of poor communication. Learn to express your needs clearly and learn to listen when your spouse expresses theirs. Miscommunication is the root of many conflicts, but good communication is the cure. Lastly, ask yourself about your connection with your Creator. A marriage is not just between two people. It is a bond blessed by the Almighty. If you keep Him at the center, if you pray together, if you remind each other of what is right, your marriage will have divine protection. But if you neglect Him, if you forget your purpose, you will find that even small issues become unbearable. The strength of your marriage depends greatly on the strength of your faith. When you look at all these questions, you realize that readiness for marriage is not about finding someone perfect, nor about waiting for a perfect moment. It is about working on yourself, building your character, refining your patience, nurturing your gratitude, and strengthening your faith. The more you grow as an individual, the more prepared you will be to enter this beautiful and challenging journey called marriage. If you pause for a moment and reflect, you will realize that marriage is not a destination, it is a journey. Too many people think the day of the wedding is the end of the story, when in reality, it is only the beginning of a new chapter that will keep unfolding every day. Each sunrise brings new lessons. Each sunset brings new reflections. The key question is, are you prepared to travel that journey with patience, humility, and consistency? Because the excitement of the wedding fades quickly, but the responsibility of the marriage remains every single day. One of the greatest tests in marriage is consistency. Can you remain kind, not just at the start when love feels fresh and exciting, but years down the line when routine sets in, when challenges come, when responsibilities weigh heavily? It is easy to be generous at the beginning, to shower your spouse with gifts, compliments, and attention. But true readiness is proven when you continue to show that same care even after time has passed, when life is busy, and when sacrifices feel heavy. Love is not built on grand gestures alone, but on the small, daily acts of kindness that may seem ordinary, yet carry extraordinary weight. Think about the importance of companionship. Marriage is not about avoiding loneliness for a night or a week. It is about building a companionship that carries you through decades of life. Are you ready to be someone's closest friend, someone they can turn to with their fears, their worries, their joys, and their dreams? It is not about being physically present alone, but emotionally present. Being able to listen when your spouse has had a difficult day. Being able to celebrate their victories even if they are small. Being able to reassure them when they doubt themselves. This is true companionship. Companionship also means loyalty. It means being the one person your spouse can trust when the world feels harsh. Loyalty is not just about avoiding betrayal in big matters. It is also about standing by your spouse in the small things. When others mock them, do you defend them? When others criticize them, do you protect their dignity? Are you their safe haven, or do you become another source of hurt? Readiness for marriage means preparing yourself to be a shield, not a sword, for the one you choose to share your life with. There is another reality many forget, and that is that your spouse is not your property. They are not someone you control, nor are they someone you own. They are a human being with their own emotions, thoughts, and individuality. Respecting that individuality is a sign of maturity. If you are the type who feels threatened by your spouse having an opinion, or if you become upset when they express themselves, then you are not ready. A healthy marriage is not about erasing each other's identity, but about nurturing it and allowing both individuals to shine in their own unique way. It is also important to reflect on the power of words. Words can heal and words can destroy. In marriage, the words you choose will shape the entire atmosphere of your home. A kind word, even if small, can lift the heart of your spouse for the entire day. A harsh word, even if spoken in a moment of anger, can leave a wound that takes years to heal. Are you ready to guard your tongue, to choose gentleness over harshness, to apologize when you slip? Because readiness for marriage is not about never making mistakes, but about being humble enough to correct them and seek forgiveness when they occur. Part of being ready for marriage is also understanding sacrifice. At some point, you will have to give up your comfort for the sake of your spouse's happiness. It might be in the form of moving to a new place, adjusting to a different routine, or giving up a habit that bothers them. If you think marriage is only about holding on to your own comfort, then you will struggle. But if you are willing to sacrifice for peace, you will discover that true joy comes not from always winning, but from creating happiness together. And sacrifice is not only material, it is emotional. Sometimes you will need to put aside your ego to apologize first, even when you feel you are not entirely wrong. Sometimes you will have to comfort your spouse when you yourself are feeling down. Sometimes you will have to give them reassurance when you yourself are in need of it. This is the beauty of marriage. Two people serving each other selflessly, knowing that their efforts are seen and rewarded by the Almighty. A common mistake people make is comparing their marriage to others. They look at someone else's spouse, someone else's lifestyle, someone else's home, and they begin to feel their own is inadequate. Comparison is poison to contentment. If you want to be ready for marriage, you must train yourself to be grateful for what you have, not envious of what you don't. Every marriage has struggles. Every couple has challenges. The pictures you see from others show you only the smiles, not the tears. Protect your heart from comparison and focus on gratitude, and your marriage will remain strong. Another test of readiness is how you handle disappointment. No matter how much you love each other, your spouse will sometimes disappoint you. They may forget something important. They may not meet your expectations. They may let you down in a moment when you needed them most. If your reaction is to lose hope, to become bitter, or to punish them endlessly, you will not survive the tests of marriage. But if your reaction is to show understanding, to communicate your feelings, to forgive and move forward, then your marriage will only grow stronger after each disappointment. Marriage also teaches you humility. You cannot always be right, and you cannot always have your way. Sometimes you will be wrong, and admitting it will be the key to peace. If you are too proud to apologize, too proud to admit your mistakes, too proud to bend for the sake of harmony, then you are not ready. Humility is not weakness, it is strength. It takes strength to admit when you are wrong. It takes strength to apologize sincerely, and it takes strength to let go of pride for the sake of love. A crucial question to ask yourself is whether you are willing to invest in personal growth after marriage. Many people work on themselves before marriage, but once they are married, they stop. They stop learning patience. They stop working on kindness. They stop trying to improve. But marriage requires continuous growth. The same effort you put in at the beginning must continue throughout. If you think marriage will remain strong without effort, you are mistaken. Effort is what keeps the bond alive, and effort must be renewed daily. You must also prepare yourself for the possibility of hardship. There may be days when money is tight, when health fails, when families create pressure, when life feels heavy. In those times, your readiness is proven by your ability to stand together rather than turn against each other. Do you offer comfort or do you add to the burden? Do you become a source of calm or do you become another storm? Marriage is not tested in ease, but in hardship. If you can stand side by side through difficulty, then you will truly appreciate ease when it comes. Children too may one day become part of the journey. Ask yourself, are you ready to be a role model, not just a spouse? Because your treatment of your spouse will be the example your children follow. If they see respect, they will learn respect. If they see anger, they will learn anger. If they see forgiveness, they will learn forgiveness. The way you build your marriage is not just for you, but for the generations to come. Even if children are not part of your plan, remember that your marriage itself is a form of legacy. The peace you create within your home becomes an inspiration to others. The love and respect you show your spouse can heal wounds in people who have only seen brokenness. Your marriage can be a source of light, not just for you, but for your community. That is why readiness for marriage is a responsibility far greater than just two people. It carries ripples that extend far beyond your own lives. At the end of the day, readiness for marriage is about sincerity. If your intention is to please your Creator, to build a home upon love and mercy, to treat your spouse with dignity, then even when challenges come, you will find a way forward. But if your intention is selfish, if you seek only comfort without responsibility, if you desire control without respect, then your marriage will be filled with turbulence. Your sincerity will guide you, your effort will sustain you, and your patience will protect you. So when you ask yourself, am I ready for marriage? Do not answer lightly. Reflect deeply on your character, your habits, your patience, your humility, and your connection with the Almighty. Because marriage is not about one day of celebration. It is about a lifetime of responsibility, sacrifice, and love. It is a journey where two hearts come together, not in perfection, but in mercy. And together they grow, they learn, and they strive for peace. If you look closely at the reality of life, you will notice that marriage is one of the most powerful mirrors a person can ever stand in front of. It reflects who you really are. When you are single, you can hide your weaknesses, you can mask your impatience, you can cover up your selfishness because you are not being tested every day by another person sharing your space. But once you are married, those qualities surface. The question is, are you ready to face that mirror? Are you ready to accept your flaws when they are exposed? And are you willing to work on them instead of blaming your spouse for noticing them? That is where true growth begins. You must understand that marriage is not an escape. Some people think that getting married will solve all their problems, that it will cure loneliness, that it will end sadness, that it will bring them immediate peace. But if you are broken inside, marriage is not the tool to fix you. If you have unresolved issues, if you are carrying anger, jealousy, or bitterness from your past, marriage will not erase them. Instead, it will magnify them. That is why being ready for marriage means healing yourself first, confronting your inner struggles, and striving to become whole as an individual before you join your life with another. At the same time, you should know that marriage is not about perfection. If you wait for yourself to be perfect or for the other person to be perfect, you'll wait forever. Readiness does not mean flawlessness. It means readiness to embrace imperfection with mercy. Are you ready to forgive your spouse when they are moody, when they make mistakes, when they forget something important to you? Are you ready to accept that they will not always look, act, or speak in the way you imagined? If you are looking for perfection, you will be disappointed. If you are looking for mercy, you will find peace. Think of marriage as a classroom. Every day you will be taught lessons in patience, in humility, in compromise. Sometimes those lessons will be gentle, sometimes they will be difficult. But if you approach marriage as a student, willing to learn and willing to improve, then every hardship becomes an opportunity. If you approach marriage with arrogance, thinking you already know it all, then every hardship will feel like an attack. The humble attitude of a learner is what transforms challenges into blessings. You also need to prepare yourself for the responsibility of time. Marriage requires time. It is not just about living in the same house. It is about spending time together, listening, connecting, sharing. If you think you can give your spouse the leftovers of your time after you have invested everything into work, friends, or distractions, then you will weaken the bond. Being ready means knowing how to prioritize your spouse, how to set aside time even when life is busy, how to make them feel valued and not neglected. Time is one of the greatest gifts you can give in marriage, and once it is gone, it cannot be replaced. In addition to time, you must prepare for honesty. Honesty is the soul of a marriage. If you are not truthful, if you hide your feelings, if you conceal important matters, then cracks will begin to appear. Being honest does not mean being harsh. It means being transparent in a way that builds trust. Can you express your disappointments without attacking? Can you admit your mistakes without excuses? Can you share your struggles without fear of judgment? These are the marks of readiness, because without honesty, no bond can last. Another element to consider is the ability to celebrate differences. No two people are the same. One may be outgoing, the other introverted. One may be detail-oriented, the other carefree. These differences can either become sources of frustration or sources of balance. If you see them as flaws, you will resent them. But if you see them as balance, you will appreciate them. A marriage where both people are exactly alike would not last long, because there would be no complementing strengths. Readiness means being wise enough to see that your spouse's differences are not a weakness, but a gift that adds balance to your life. You must also prepare yourself for change. Life will not remain as it is on your wedding day. Circumstances will change. Health will change. Appearances will change. Even personalities may evolve with time and experience. Are you ready to adapt, to accept, to love your spouse as they change? Too many marriages fail because one person clings to an old image of who their spouse was and refuses to accept who they have become. Readiness means embracing the journey of growth, understanding that just as you are changing, so is your spouse, and that love grows deeper when it adjusts to change rather than resists it. A great question to ask yourself is how you deal with forgiveness in your own life. When people wrong you outside of marriage, do you hold grudges? Do you keep replaying their faults? Do you find it difficult to let go? If so, you will carry that same attitude into marriage and it will harm you. Marriage requires quick forgiveness, letting go of small mistakes before they turn into large ones, and moving forward without bitterness. The most successful marriages are not the ones with the least mistakes, but the ones with the most forgiveness. In readiness for marriage, you also need to think about respect for family. Whether you like it or not, marriage does not involve just two people. It involves two families. You may not agree with everything in your spouse's family. You may not even enjoy every interaction, but respect is non-negotiable. Can you disagree without being rude? Can you set boundaries without dishonor? Can you treat them with dignity even when they test your patience? Readiness means knowing that respecting your spouse's family is part of respecting your spouse, because those relationships affect the peace of your home. Another important area is handling expectations. Many enter marriage with a long list of expectations, some of which are unrealistic. They expect constant attention, never-ending romance, financial stability without struggle, no arguments, no disappointments. These expectations set you up for frustration. Real readiness is lowering those expectations and focusing instead on building gratitude for what is present. If you expect too much, you will always be disappointed. If you are grateful for even the small things, you will always find joy. Think also of your ability to pray for your spouse. Marriage is not only about physical support and emotional support, it is about spiritual support. Are you ready to raise your hands and ask for blessings for your spouse, even in moments of anger? Are you ready to remember them in your prayers when they are not around? Are you ready to guide them gently toward goodness when they falter? True readiness means understanding that you are not only responsible for their happiness in this world, but also their success in the hereafter. The ability to adapt to life seasons is also a mark of maturity. Marriage will bring seasons of joy and seasons of sadness, seasons of abundance and seasons of struggle, seasons of closeness and seasons of distance. Are you prepared to remain committed through them all, not only when life feels sweet, but also when life feels bitter? Many give up when the season of hardship comes, not realizing that seasons always change. Readiness means committing to the long-term journey, not just the easy phases. You should also consider how you handle conflict resolution. Are you ready to walk away in peace when tempers flare rather than fuel the fire? Are you ready to return to the discussion with calmness rather than stubborn pride? Conflict in marriage is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of humanity. What determines success is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to resolve it with maturity, patience, and respect. If you do not know how to resolve conflict peacefully, then you are not yet ready. Lastly, reflect on your ability to show love. Love is not only words, it is actions. A kind gesture, a gentle smile, a thoughtful note, a warm embrace. These are expressions of love that keep the heart alive. Are you ready to give love even when you feel tired? Are you ready to show affection even when your day has been heavy? Are you ready to nurture? Either bond daily rather than assume it will remain strong on its own. Love must be watered, and readiness means knowing you will have to keep watering it, even on days when it feels inconvenient. When you look at the journey in its entirety, you see that marriage is one of the greatest responsibilities a human being can carry. It is a test of character, a test of patience, a test of humility, and a test of sincerity. To be ready for marriage is to be ready for growth, for sacrifice, for forgiveness, for love, and for worship. It is to recognize that marriage is not about perfection, but about mercy. Not about control, but about partnership. Not about selfishness, but about service. And when you are ready for all of that, then you are truly ready for marriage.